Hi, I'm Jake, and on this episode of Rig Rundown, we're taking a look at this gargantuan beast. Now before we get started, as you can see, there is a different backdrop to me from our regular rig rundowns. As you can also see, we couldn't quite get this into the workshop studio just due to its massive footprint. So today we're doing it in the Melbourne store. Now this Taiwanese built menace is obviously absolutely massive. That's obviously due to the addition of the sliding table attachment. I don't want you to get too overwhelmed by the size of it. We'll talk about that separately. To start off, I just want to talk about the machine itself. Now if you're wondering who could possibly benefit from a machine this large, well, it is essentially one step down from moving up to an industrial grade panel saw, so your Altendorfs, your Martins, your SCM. The footprint without any of the additional extras is approximately 2100 by a metre, whereas with all the extensions attached, the sliding table, the overhead dust guard, to be fully utilised, the footprint for it is approximately 4200 millimetres by around 2100 millimetres, so it's literally double the footprint. Now if you're wondering whether or not this is a saw for you, definitely take the footprint into account, because it's not just the footprint, it's also the operating space as well. The 300mm Sherwood heavy duty cabinet saw shares a lot of specs with its little brother, the 250mm. These include the same motor, the same cast iron substructure, same rip fence. The main differences are obviously the blade capacity. It has a slightly larger cast iron tabletop. It's about an approximate increase of about 20%, and it has a higher ripping capacity. Now why would you go from one to the other? Well, when you upgrade to a 300mm blade capacity, your options for blade types differ and expand exponentially. So you have a plethora of blade options open to you, which means you can do much higher quality cuts depending on every different type of material you might be cutting. Now if you're just picking up the cabinet and you're not worried about the sliding table, it would be really good for anybody who's ripping up and cutting up a lot of recycled hardwoods, fence makers if you've got to cut down your posts before you take them out, maybe chippies, you're doing a lot of stair treads and you need something that's just going to keep running and running and running back on base. This would be the perfect saw for you. Now if you were to invest in the sliding table option, I think it'd be a great investment for cabbies who are just getting out of their first job, who are moving into their own workshop and just looking to get set up. You will have to remove the sliding table fence to rip a 2400 by 1200 sheet, but it's a very simple process. You can just lift it off, lift it straight back on, and you're good to go. You'll also get a cross-cutting capacity of approximately 1250 millimetres with that fence installed, so you can still cut just straight across your sheet. Also, if you're a subby doing a lot of different maintenance work, there's obviously a lot of different jobs involved. One day you might be ripping timber, the other day you're cutting sheets, kickers, fillers, all that sort of stuff. Perfect option. And to prove just how much versatility and guts are in these things, we've picked up a piece of eucalypt we found discarded down the creek behind us. We've dressed it down on our, geez, this thing's heavy. We've dressed it down on one of our jointer planer thicknesses in the workshop, and now we're going to cut it down to size. Right, now let's break down its specs. So inside this massive cabinet, it has a 3 horsepower, 2400 watt motor. It runs off 15 amps, so make sure you get a licensed electrician to come in and take a look at your wiring before you decide to invest. As I mentioned, it has a 300mm blade capacity, which will give you approximately 100mm of cutting height. It also features a 45-degree right-hand tilt. The top itself is obviously a solid cast iron build. It features 2 standard miter slots, and its footprint size is approximately 1215 by 765mm. So from an upgrade from the 250mm, it's approximately a 20% increase in surface area. Now the solid cast iron substructure that permeates the entire cabinet inside is one solid piece of cast iron. It distributes the weight all the way through the cabinet and makes sure that there's a lot less vibration. Your material and the blade will remain as sturdy as possible, which means that your cuts will be much more precise and much cleaner. That also goes for the heavy-duty build profile of the rip fence. It is Sherwood's most robust rip fence, so you can assure that you will get precise cuts and you will mitigate as much vibration as possible, which will again keep your quality of cut much higher. Now I'll move on to the additional extras. So as you can see here, this saw has been set up with pretty much every other additional extra that is afforded to this machine, and the 250mm blade capacity cabinet saw as well. So we'll start with the overhead dust guard. As you can see, very adjustable, very comprehensive, with a 2.5-inch port on top for much better containment of particles flying up and hitting you in the face. Obviously the sliding table is an additional extra as well. Great for cabinet makers, furniture makers if you are doing a lot of cross-grain cuts and you don't want to have to set up a sled. Save you a lot of time setting up and it'll give you a lot more consistent cutting. This is a growing trend. Obviously we don't do a lot of this in Australia, but this 300mm heavy-duty cabinet saw, as well as the 250mm, both have the option of a replacement arbor for a dado stack. It is additional. It's essentially just a case of switching out the arbor and changing your insert plate, and then you can chuck a stack of up to 25mm blades on it. And that's it for another video. So for more information, hit the links below, like, share and subscribe to the page to help us grow, and I'll see you in the next video.